Antonio Brown, Lord have mercy. He retired as a Raider. He went there, then he froze his feet. He caused all this controversy to try to get traded. He badmouthed the coach. He badmouthed the quarterback. He badmouthed the general manager. Never played it down and then got cut. If you just stick to the football field, he's a Steeler legend. That 6-year stretch that he had is literally unmatched. If you had Antonio Brown on your fantasy league team, he led you to fantasy league football victories. Him by himself. Does he deserve to have his number retired? Absolutely not. You can't be bad-mouthing your quarterback like that. He burned every bridge that Pittsburgh has, and there's a whole bunch of bridges in Pittsburgh, but is he still a Steeler legend based on what he did on the field? 100% absolutely.
Welcome to Big B
Julius,
Daily. No frauds
come on,
allowed.
don't be- Let's get this thing going today. What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Big B Daily. This is your guy, Big B, Brian Hanley. Welcome back. I appreciate it. Good morning, good morning, good morning. You know, this is the dead period, people. This is the dead period. We're going to get through it together, man. We're going to get through it together. That period between the end of basketball and the start of football, we're going to try to get through this thing together. Even hockey is now over. We'll talk about that. Last night, the Florida Panthers came back after being up 3-0, then getting their head beaten in for 3 straight games. They found a way to go win the Stanley Cup last night. We'll talk a little bit about that because, as you all know, I'm a beyond casual hockey fan. That was the only hockey game that I saw all year, and I only watched half of it. So there's that. Coach Prime talking about he plans on being at Colorado for a long time, and the keyword plans to stay. We'll see how much of that we all believe. And then Canada's Olympic basketball team. If y'all looked at that roster, if you've taken a look at that roster, they have a chance. I'm not saying they're better than the USA's basketball team, but we'll dig into that roster a little bit. And yeah, they got a chance, people. So we're going to dig into this a little bit. I appreciate everybody being in here, man. Thank you, guys. Look, again, if you like the show, you want to help support the show, you know how to do that, man. There's a plethora of different ways. One platform, you can always run the conversation and help run the conversation with sending in a super chat if you choose to do so. Please follow, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Another platform, you can always send tips, gifts, and again, click on the page, share the live, like the live, all that good stuff. We appreciate you guys, man. Let's get into the show. So the first thing is the Panthers win the Stanley Cup. That, you know what? I think I'm over the Panthers at this Florida winning stuff. First of all, why is hockey in Florida? Talk about that. Why the hell is hockey in Florida? That's the first thing. I mean, don't get me wrong. They've been successful. Hell, Tampa Bay has been crazy successful. But we got hockey in Florida. This is what happens. You let the cat out of the bag, and it goes crazy. I didn't realize this until somebody told me. I think it was Brevin yesterday, said in the show that Canada, a team from Canada, hasn't won the Stanley Cup since 1993. That's crazy to me. Hell, I was still in high school. 1993. Lord have mercy. But either way, that's what it is, man. Florida Panthers win last night. Look, crazy series. Florida comes out, wins the first 3 games, and you're thinking, this thing is over. It is all over but the shouting. all of a sudden, Edmonton blows out Florida in a game, and they took all the confidence, and they run off 3 games in a row. And you're like, oh, well, and they've been blowouts. They've been beating the brakes off of Florida. And then you're like, oh, well, Florida has no shot. This is all over but the shouting. And then game 7 comes around, and the only thing that I do know is that Florida's got a crazy good defense. Crazy good defense. And they did that. They scored 2 goals, and I just heard people say if Florida can get to 2 goals at home, they're going to win. And damn it, if they didn't win, they got to 2 goals, and they ended up winning. So they ended up winning. So good for the Florida Panthers. Stanley Cup in Florida. I got people talking about Florida runs the ice. And I mean, is there any ice even in Florida? It's just sickening. It's just sickening. Question here by my man. Florida said, hold my beer. We're going to show you how we do things in warm weather. Unbelievable. See what I'm talking about? It's absolutely ridiculous what is going on, what people are saying. So Florida is ridiculous. But you know, I think it's actually good for hockey. I'll say that. I think it's good for hockey. You know, them being able to win. And it just shows that it doesn't have to be because, I mean, how many people are going to Florida Panthers games? I have no idea. You guys educate me. So you guys educate me as far as how many. Now, the one thing, I live here in Dallas. I've been to some Dallas Stars games before. Hockey is actually really fun to go to a hockey game. Yeah, it's fun. It's a good time. It's a good time. Now, watching it on TV, I don't know. I don't know about watching it on TV. But going, that's different. That's different. I don't know that I can sit there and stomach watching it on TV. I just don't know. But we'll see. We'll see. But Florida winning. Tampa's been really well. Dallas has been good this year. Hell, Las Vegas has been good. I think it's good for hockey. Now, I think what would be better for hockey is let's see some of the old school teams finally get in there and win something. Like a Toronto, a Montreal, Edmonton, the Rangers, the Islanders. Let's see one of those teams get back and try to win something. It hadn't happened in a while. That has not happened in a while. So let's see some of those teams get back and be really, really good. But spreading it around, I don't know. Yeah, the Bruins, the Boston Bruins. But the Bruins win like a year or two ago, though. Didn't they win? I can't remember. Like I said, I'm not even a casual hockey fan. I'm not. I think y'all respect me. I'm not even a casual hockey fan. I watched 10 minutes of Game 7 of last night. That's all I watched. 10 minutes. I don't even know if it was 10. It was more like 6. 6 minutes of Game 7. I couldn't do it. I said I was going to watch it, and I watched rerun. I haven't, I just watched some reruns. I won't even go into what I was doing. It was just, I watched some reruns of a show that I hadn't seen that's really popular, and I started watching that. And then I forgot the hockey game's on. I'll watch the end of this. I'm telling you, man, this dead period does stuff to me. It does stuff to me. This dead period, it gets me watching old reruns. I'm watching Family Guy reruns. I don't like the dead period, man. I don't like it. And I think the reason that I'm so upset this year about the dead period more than anything is because I got fooled by the Olympics. I thought the Olympics started at the beginning of July. And I thought, hey, it's a month long. It'll carry me right over into football. No. The damn Olympics don't start until July 29th. That's over a month away. I got to wait over a month. I mean, football training camp will be started by then. I don't know. I'm hurting, people. I'm hurting. Like I said, even hockey is over. Even hockey. So we're gonna figure it out, though. We are going to figure this thing out. But congratulations to the Florida Panthers, Stanley Cup champions 2024. Having said all that, let's move on, man. Let's move on. So, all right. What do we got? Coach Prime. Look, it seems like Coach Prime, look, I get it. They got to stay relevant. They got to stay in the news. Somebody asks him a question. He answers it. Does he plan on being there? What he said was, I plan to stay at Colorado after my kids go to the NFL. My kids and Travis go to the NFL. He didn't say, I'll be here for the next 4 to 5 years. I'm going to be here for the long haul. He didn't say that. He just said, I plan. Well, you can get out of that because plans change all the time. I mean, hell, my plans are going to change from what I'm going to say right now to my very next sentence. So you're telling me his plans can change? Of course they can. And in my opinion, of course they will. And I will be dangling out there just like a whole bunch of other people that support Coach Prime and what he's doing or what he's trying to do. And we will have no leg to stand on. We will have no leg to stand on. Because if Coach Prime leaves after this year, everything that he said was absolute bullshit. Everything. Everything that he said. He talked about he's trying to build this program and do that. Everything that he said will be BS. Now, you could say, well, what if he gets a head coaching job in the NFL? Are you going to hire Deion Sanders to run your organization if he can't even get Colorado to do anything? Is that what we're doing? I'm not saying some owner won't do that, but that would be a colossal mistake. Deion is not an NFL coach. Not to mention, how many times has Deion said, I'm not an NFL coach? So, and no, it's not smart of him not to make any commitments. No, it isn't. If you don't want to be there, just don't answer the question. If that, you could always do that. You don't have to say, well, my plan is to do this. Hey, man, I'm pretty sure Colorado didn't hire you for 2 years. That wasn't their plan. Hey, we're going to hire Deion Sanders. He's going to come in here for 2 years. I don't think that was their plan. So hopefully that's not the truth. Because I honestly believe if Deion put his heart and soul and everything into this, I think he could make something at Colorado. They love him. They love him at Colorado. They like what he's doing. He's making not only the university, but the entire town a ton of money. I looked at going to a Kansas State football game this coming up season. There was a hotel. It was a Holiday Inn Express. $450 a night for a Holiday Inn Express. Are you kidding me? So now, because I'm going to go to the game, but there is no way in hell that I'm going to stay in Boulder. I'll just drive the difference from Denver to Boulder. I ain't paying that money. Are you crazy? For a Holiday Inn Express? What if I wanted to treat myself and treat my wife and stay at a really nice hotel? I got to pay $1,000 a night in Boulder, Colorado? Forget it. Forget it. So the city is doing well. The university's doing well. Now the football team's got to get it going. They got to get it going. They got to start winning, man. They got to start winning. So they got to start winning. Here's a question. If I'm the commander's just hired a coach. So they just hired a coach. I'm sorry, Adam. That's not a good idea, my man. That's not a good idea. So do I think that Colorado will get better recruits when Deion leaves or now? I mean, here's the thing. Depends on what you call recruits. If you're talking high school recruits, Deion has to show that he's actually interested in bringing in high school kids. I mean, last year it was 5. I think, what did they get this past year? Like 6, 7? I mean, he's got to show that he actually wants to do some recruiting. Deion's got to get off his butt. And we talk about Deion's not lazy, not going into recruits' homes, that's lazy. We can call it whatever we want. We can say, well, when I was a recruit, I didn't want nobody in my home. Well, that doesn't have anything to do with the next guy. That doesn't have anything to do with somebody else's family. That is just lazy. I don't want to get out there and bust my butt doing the recruiting. That's all that is. Anybody that says otherwise is lying. They're lying. And again, I'm a staunch Deion supporter. I want them to do well. But if you're going to tell me that him not going into kids' homes and doing in-home visits is anything other than lazy recruiting, you're lying to yourself. It's just lazy recruiting. He just doesn't want to do it. That's what it is. He doesn't want to go where you have to go and go into these kids' homes. He doesn't want to do that. So it's just lazy recruiting. So how do you do that? I mean, how do you get kids? Everything can't be a Zoom call, or get the kid out there and then they just commit. Hey, man, show you want me. I got Dabo Sweeney. I got Kirby Smart. They came to my house. I live in the middle of Florida, in nowhere, Florida, or nowhere, Mississippi, in nowhere, Alabama, Louisiana, Indiana, wherever. They came to my house. They showed some effort. Why won't you do that, Deion? Come on, man. It's a great question, Wakan. Great question. So it depends on what you're actually talking about as far as recruits. You have to go. You have to go. If you're going to be in college athletics, in college football, you've got to go recruit. You can't just say, I'm not going into kids' homes. That's not how it's done. And you're not going to get kids unless you're just going to live in the transfer portal. And I'm just saying, I don't think living in the transfer portal is necessarily sustainable. I don't think at some point and maybe Colorado will prove us all wrong. What we've thought for years is that you have to develop a team. But do you now? I mean, let's think about that. Let's think about it. Do you have to develop talent? If you've got a transfer portal that you can literally go get different guys every single year that come from wherever they come from, do you really have to develop them? I mean, if you can go get a good lineman here, a good lineman there, a corner here, a corner there, a quarterback here, I mean, do you have to develop them? And by the way, Colorado isn't the only school getting a ton of transfers every year. It's not just them. I've said it once. I'll say it a million times. My favorite team, the University of Louisville, I love them. They've gotten, I think, 53 transfers over the last 2 years. Now, again, last year they had a new coach. But what did they do? They got all these transfers in, and they go to the ACC championship game. They got a whole bunch this year. And they're supposed to be a better team this year than last year. And while they're supplementing that, they're getting 15 recruits from the high school ranks. So it's like, okay, well, what would you rather do? So we'll see. We'll see. So, no, Clemson's not going to use the transfer portal. Dabo, he doesn't believe in it, and that's why they've slipped. Dabo doesn't believe in that. He doesn't believe in NIL. He doesn't want to conform. And Clemson has paid the price for that. They do good in high school recruiting. Don't get me wrong. They do good, but I'm sorry. If I'm a coach and I could have my druthers on whether I got a 4-star, let's just say a 4-star high school recruit, or go get a guy that's going to be with me 1, maybe 2 years that was really good at Michigan or really good at, I don't know, wherever, USC, Georgia, and they want to come to my school, I'm taking that guy. I mean, and those are the guys that are coming too. Everybody acts like the people that are in the transfer portal are people that don't play. That ain't true. That is not true at all. Look at Ohio State. Look at what Ohio State did in the transfer portal. They got the best defensive back in the country and arguably the best running back in the country. Both transferred there. So it's not just guys that aren't getting enough playing time. Now, don't get me wrong, the majority of them are. But it isn't just guys that aren't playing, that are disgruntled, that are mad. That's not everybody. Not it. You got to use the transfer portal to your advantage. If you don't, you are going to get left behind, and whatever happens to your program, that would be your fault. It's not cheating. Use the rules until they change the rules, which I think anybody with a sound mind knows you got to change the rules and be able to enforce something. But until they do, use it. Use it. You cannot not use everything that's available to you. You can't. You can't. So you just can't do it. You just can't do it. So we'll see what happens with Deion and Coach Prime. I think there's an opportunity for them to be good this year. I don't think just going 6-6 is a win. There's going to be some people that want to piggyback and give them a ton of praise for going 6-6. I don't think that's a win. And you can look at what their program was 2 years ago. You can. But that's not what Deion's selling. Deion's not selling 6-6. He's not selling that. He's selling domination. Well, go dominate. And I'm not saying they got to win every game because I don't think Colorado's talented enough to win every game. But I think they got to, for me, 8 wins. Get to 8. You can get to 8. And if you get to 8, then I'll believe what you're cooking. Because, again, I'm a guy and I'm going to give you your respect. I'm going to stay the course. But at some point, I got to see something on the table. You know, whatever you're cooking, I got to see some dinner on the table. You can't just be cooking and cooking and cooking and telling me how good it's going to be, and then it never shows up on the dinner plate. Nobody. And I give you some time, but I'm not giving you forever, especially when that's what you're selling. Now, if you're telling me that, hey, dinner's not going to be done for 2 hours, I can't come there 40 minutes later and say, where's my dinner? But when you're telling me, hey, man, dinner's going to be done in 10 minutes, 3 hours later, you're still boiling water, I got a problem. I got a problem. And that's the problem with Deion. He's selling they're going to dominate right now. That's what he's selling. Well, fine. If that's what you're selling, I need to see it. I need to see this domination that you speak of. Now, wouldn't it be funny if Colorado comes out and wins the Big 12 this year? Do you know how many people would have to eat crow? Do you know how many people you wouldn't hear from, like the Jason Whitlocks of the world? You wouldn't hear him talk about Deion not one time. Because what could he say at that point? Last year, Deion gave him 4 months of a show. Literally 4 months of a show. He wouldn't be able to say anything. Let Colorado come out and win the Big 12. So many people would have to just shut up. Y'all remember Tom Lemming last year when he came out and said Colorado's offensive line was going to be terrible. They're not going to be able to protect shit. And then Colorado goes out and wins the first game, and everybody beat his head in, said, oh, he should be fired from ESPN. He doesn't know what he's talking about. He hates Deion. Even people called the man racist. What? Well, about 3 games into the season, it turned out this man, who's been doing high school recruiting for every bit of 25 years, knew exactly what he was talking about. I didn't hear anybody coming out saying, hey, he's right. So that's all I'm saying. And it wasn't Tom Lemming. It was Lugan Ball, his name is, at ESPN. He was right. That's all I'm saying, people. I need to see some cooking. I need to see it. I'm a supporter of Deion. I want Deion to win every game except when he plays against Kansas State. I don't want him winning that game. But I want to see him win every other game. I want it to happen. Let me fix this real quick, people. So I'm for it. like I said, I'm for it. I am for Deion doing his thing. I am for Deion doing his thing. So hopefully he can make that work. Hopefully he can make that work. Because like I said, it would do me and a lot of people a lot of justice if they can come out and be a better football team and a better program. Colorado used to be so good. I mean, they were so good. It's kind of like Nebraska used to be so good. Now, Nebraska hasn't fallen off like Colorado. I think that's the key game to Colorado's season this year, to be honest with you. That Nebraska game. The first game of the year is going to be a hell of a lot tougher than what Colorado believes. And then they go to Nebraska. They got to win that game. I don't think they can lose that game and have a successful season. They got to go because Nebraska is going to be better. They got to go to Nebraska and win. If they do that, Colorado's going to have something cooking. If not, I think the wheels might fall off. I'll be honest with you. I'll be honest. I know that's the second game of the season. You're saying, come on, B, what are you talking about? Let Colorado go to Nebraska and lose the second game of the year. They might lose 4 games in a row after that. I'm just saying. Let's go to some comments. Pat Cockrell comes in and says, I don't think Colorado will win the Big 12. Too many top-level contenders. If they do, though, good for them. They're taking that L in Lubbock, though. Come on, man. Come on. The fandom. I love it. I love the fandom from my man, Pat Cockrell. I love it. I don't think they're going to win the Big 12 either. I'm not predicting it. Y'all can check out my show, Big 12 Insiders. Y'all make sure you all go subscribe to that. It's on YouTube. Make sure you go subscribe. Big 12 Insiders. Go check that out if you haven't done that already. We've talked about Colorado and Prom a lot. And he, like I said, I don't believe they're going to win the Big 12. I don't think that at all. But again, I think they got to win 8 games. I'm not going to give them a pass for winning 6 games. I don't care what their program was a couple years ago. I don't care. We've seen programs go from bad to good in a year. Transfer portal allows you to do that. And nobody lives in the transfer portal like Colorado. Nobody. So go be good. Go be good. They've got the opportunity here. So let's see if they can make something happen. I don't want to hear, well, they only won 1 game 2 years ago, and now they've won 6. Hey, man, that's not what you're selling to me, Deion. We covered that. That's not what you're selling to me. You're selling domination. I need domination. Six wins is not domination. It's not. And the Big 12 is going to be better than what he thinks it is. He doesn't know anything about the Big 12. You can tell by some of the statements that he makes. Deion has no clue how good and how physical the Big 12 actually is. He has no idea. But he'll get a rude awakening if he doesn't get up to speed on how physical it is. He'll get a rude awakening because some of them schools are going to come in and punch them directly in the mouth. So we'll see. So you know how Utah plays football. Utah plays extremely physical brand of football. Yeah, I would say 3/4 of the Big 12 plays that way too. So be ready. Be ready, Coach Prime. It's a big year. But does he plan on staying? I don't know. I want him to stay. Great for college football. I think he is great for college football. I think he is. But I want to see some success. Let's move on. And Big B Daily comes on 10 a.m. Eastern, 9 a.m. Central, Monday through Friday, people. Appreciate you guys showing up. So, have you all checked out Canada's Olympic basketball team? You know, I knew Canada had some really good basketball players. And I figured, you know what, they're going to have a good Olympic team. But I didn't really pay that much attention to it. Until yesterday, I saw who was actually going to be on their team. And we're going to break this down, people, because if you look at it, it's pretty damn good. I mean, it's crazy. Let's take a look at this for a second. So, And I'll go and Kyle Alexander, great player. Alexander Walker, great for Minnesota. R.J. Barrett, and he was good with the Knicks. We'll see how good he is with Toronto, but still a pretty good player. Bill Haynes, I don't really know a ton about him. Birch is good. Brissett, good. Then we start getting into some players that we know. Dylan Brooks. Now, whether you think Dylan Brooks is that good or not, that's a different conversation. His antics, he's not going to be able to do that in Olympic basketball. I think Dylan Brooks is actually a smart basketball player. He does the things that he does because he's not athletically talented like the other guys in the NBA. But Dylan Brooks can play basketball. So I think if you just go by his antics, you'll think, oh, he's not that good. You can't redo those antics in the Olympics. They'll just kick you out, and he'll be gone. They're not going to, oh, he's suspended for a game. No. You do that in the Olympic Games, they will literally just kick you out. They'll kick you out of the village. They'll kick you out of the games, and that'll be the end of it. He's not going to do the Olympics. He's not. Then you got Dort. We saw how good he was in the playoffs, how good a defensive player. Zach Edey. Here's the thing about Zach Edey. I've been screaming for years that you can still play inside post player if you choose. The NBA has decided we're going to just play European style basketball. For what reason? I have no idea. But I still believe that if you chose to use a post player and made guys be able to hit mid-range jump shots and not just drive everything to the basket and pull up from 16 feet. Oh, imagine that, a 16-footer. You can make those. You can play with a post player. Now, I know that goes against things like LeBron James. LeBron James can't play with a post player. Why? Because he's not a good shooter. So he can't play with a post player. And you've never seen him play with a good one, have you? No. Not guys that actually play in the post that you throw the ball to. You've seen Kevin Love be turned into a pick and pop guy. Same with Chris Bosh. But I believe you can. Zach Edey can score. And Zach Edey can score. I don't care what anybody says. He can score. And if you use him the right way and put him in the post and let him do his thing, he can score. He can play in the NBA. So, look, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, I know I skipped the guy, but we don't really know who he is. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is in my opinion, a top 4 basketball player in the world. You got to deal with that. Trey Lyles, we still know who he is. Jamal Murray. Jamal Murray might be coming off the bench. Think about that. If they use 2 point guards, Jamal Murray might be coming off the bench for Team Canada. Now, they're probably going to play him and Shai on the court at the same time, which that's what I'd do. But if you just went point guard for point guard, he's not better than Alexander. It's in SGA. He's not. Think about that. Crazy. So Kelly Olynyk, Dwight Powell, Andrew Wiggins, they got a squad. They've got 12 NBA players, including 2 NBA champions and an MVP candidate on this team, man. An all defensive member. I'm telling you, Canada's got a shot. Is it better than the old, I guess, I don't know. Are they better than USA? No. So that's the part that I want people to understand. Are they better? No, they're not. So they got is being incorporated into camp with a long-term goal in mind. Oh, yeah, Shaedon Sharpe didn't even make the team. We'll see. I like what Canada's doing, man. I like what they're doing. Are they better than the United States? No. But I think they got a chance. So they're absolutely. My man Pat Cockrell, Canada's going to be a tough out. Yeah. So USA, with who USA is actually bringing, the game should be easily won. But don't tell me that Canada can't win a silver and can at least make the game somewhat competitive. They can do that. They start making jump shots, They can do that. They can do that. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. But I definitely like Canada. Look, SGA is so much better than what he gets credit for because he's a 3-level scorer. He doesn't get sped up. He's not a guy to, oh, man, look at his handle. SGA does exactly what he wants to do when he wants to do it. He goes wherever he wants to go on the basketball court. He doesn't dribble between his legs 100 times and spin around 52 times to get to where he wants to. He just goes to a spot, he pulls up, and he shoots it. And he makes it. That's it. Simple basketball. People don't like simple basketball anymore. Basketball doesn't have to be complicated. I know sometimes we make it complicated, and we love the flashiness of it, but it doesn't have to be complicated. And he makes it look easy. Basketball is not easy, and I think people make that mistake versus saying it's not complicated versus it's easy. Those are two different metrics, two different things. You know, it's not easy, but it doesn't have to be complicated. And SGA makes it look easy when it's actually complicated. So, or doesn't make it look complicated. It makes it look easy. Excuse me. He's really good. And they got a shot. You see what Jamal Murray, what he does, or what he has done when in big-time games. So, we'll see what happens. Olympics is going to be fun. But like I mentioned yesterday, when you guys think of Olympics, what's the first thing you do? Do you think that the Olympics, do you think basketball? Now, I know probably the younger generation, that's probably what they think. If you're 25 and under, yeah, when you think about the Olympics, the first thing that comes to mind is basketball. That is it's not the last thing that comes, but it's just not. It's just not. You know, that's not what track and field for me has got to be number one. Track and field is number one. Gymnastics 2, swimming 3. You know, that's in my order. I love volleyball. I like all that stuff. I like the Olympics. But we'll see how good the Olympic team, Canada's Olympic basketball team is. There's some other good teams out there, too. There's some other good teams out there. Greece, France, you know. We'll see how good all these other teams are. But I really like what Canada's got going on. I like what Canada's got going on. So we'll see how all that works, people. Well, let's get into the Q&A section of all of this. Bring your questions. What do you guys want to talk about? College football, Coach Prime, NFL, NBA, baseball, how those Metropolitans are still doing in baseball. We're hanging around, people. We're hanging around. I'm going to keep saying it. I know y'all get tired of hearing me talk about it. Damn that. I'm going to keep saying it. The Mets are hanging around. We're hanging around. One game out of the wild card, people. And again, I gave up on the season after a week. Y'all remember that? I had 100% given up on the season after a weekend. And here we are. Well, 1.5. We didn't play yesterday. 1.5 back. 1.5 back in the wild card. And they're playing some bad baseball. Don't get me wrong. They're playing some bad baseball in the National League right now. So let's go to some stuff. Let me see here. Thoughts on Tennessee winning the Baseball College World Series. I'll admit I didn't really get into it this year. I think it's Tennessee's first win. So good for them. But I didn't get into college baseball this year. I did. Not that I ever really get into it. But I didn't watch 1 second of it this season. Not 1 second. Just wasn't my thing. Wasn't into it. You know, if you actually look at baseball, it's like, I mean, I don't know. The Southern teams have more of an advantage. And I know that's a cop-out, but they just have better programs. It's all the same programs. So I didn't watch it. But good for Tennessee. So, what are your thoughts on Boston College hiring Bill O'Brien as head coach? Did they? I knew their coach left. Mm-mm-mm. Yeah, that's right. They did. I forgot about that. I mean, Bill O'Brien wanted to be a head coach. I don't know how good of a head coach he is. Here's the thing with Bill O'Brien. You know, I guess my thoughts are he was the head coach for the Houston Texans, got fired. I thought he was better in college. When he was at Penn State, I thought he should have stayed there. He was doing fine. But I guess if the NFL calls, you go back. But I thought he was a pretty good college coach. Boston College is a dumpster fire of a program. And if I'm Bill O'Brien, get to 7 wins, do it for a couple of seasons, and get the hell out of there. Because with this whole conference realignment, Boston College is getting left out in the cold. So the ACC goes, or even if the ACC doesn't implode, if all these teams end up leaving, and Boston College is going to stay because nobody wants Boston College, so they're going to end up being in a terrible ACC conference. If I'm him, get there a couple of years and get the hell out of there. That's what I would do. That's my thoughts. Because Boston College, it's a bad job. Let's just call it what it is. It's a bad job, especially in the market and way things are right now. It's a bad job. My man Roy says Prime is overrated. Yeah, he might be overrated. I mean, I'm not going to say he's overrated based on what they did last year because they were a despicable program before he got there. Just despicable, deplorable. And whether or not they were any good last year, which they weren't, let's just be honest, they weren't any good. They are now relevant. And part of your job as a coach is selling your program. So Colorado is relevant. Didn't say they were good. I said they were relevant. And the only reason they're relevant is because me, you, and a bunch of people keep talking about them. So that's what I think. Shedeur is overrated. People only talk about how he takes so many sacks. Well, I don't even know what you're talking about. Shedeur might be overrated, but him taking sacks doesn't have anything to do with it. You say he takes sacks. He had the worst offensive line in Division I football last year. Not just me saying it. Any metrics you go by, it was the worst offensive line in college football. You're not going to take a bunch of sacks with that offensive line? Of course you are. I mean, so that's not his fault. That's his fault. And I'm not saying the man's overrated, whether he's good or not. I don't know. But I know that he had a terrible offensive line. So you get him a better offensive line, let's see what he can do. So what teams are making the college football playoff? You know, I don't know the exact teams. Here's that I think are going to win the conference. I think Ohio State's going to win the Big Ten. I think Utah's going to win the Big 12. I think Georgia's going to win the SEC. And I think Florida State's going to win the ACC. So those are the 4. Now, the other remaining 8, we talked about this yesterday. I think they're going to put the SEC is going to get 5 teams, and I think they're going to give the Big 10 4 teams. Well, that's 9 slots out of the 12. The Big 12 will get 1, so now you're at 10. The ACC will get 1, now you're at 11, and then they got a group of 5. That's what's going to happen. And I think that's going to happen until the ACC and the Big 12 show that they can go and win games. Is it fair? No, it's not. Because we know that the second place Big 12 team is going to be better than the number 4 or 5 team in the Big 10 or the SEC. They are. And if you don't believe that, you're not watching enough football. You're not watching enough college football. Don't tell me that. I'll just leave it at that. I'm just going to leave it at that. So, but you know that how they manipulate these rankings, they'll have 7 SEC teams ranked, even though they got 4 losses, 5 losses. It's like Tennessee last year was somehow still ranked at the end of the year, even though we watched them get boat raced by several teams and had no business being in the rankings. Like they got the doors blown off of them by Florida, and Florida was awful. I mean, but they kept Tennessee ranked all year. They kept them ranked. So until we fix that, that's where the problems come in. We got to fix that. We got to fix that. My man Brevin, Cubs are atrocious. They blew the game last night against the Giants just because celebration of Willie Mays passing. Brevin, you don't really believe that, do you? You know, I would say that you know what, this is not even where we're going to put Brevin in a padded room and lock him up and throw away the key. We're not even going to do that. Brevin, that's just stupid. It's stupid and disrespectful. And, I'm not trying to disrespect anybody, but you're telling me a team gave a game away because Willie Mays died? You're saying that? Come on, man. Don't say stupid stuff on here because I'm going to call you out for it. It's one thing when we're all fun and games and we're having fun. It's another thing to be disrespectful. It's another thing to be disrespectful. Don't. Come on, man. You're better than that. You're better than that. Doo-doo. Let's see. What do we got? Fran Fraschilla gives Vince Carter most of the praise for accelerating Canadian basketball. Do I agree? Hell yeah, I agree. Absolutely, I agree. I mean, Vince Carter was good for so many years in Toronto. Yeah, I agree. Now, let me backtrack. I don't know if it's most of the credit, but I'll give him credit. I'll definitely give him credit. Yeah, you have to. You have to. It makes sense. He's on to something. He's on to something. So, let's see here. What group of 5 will make it, do I think? A group of 5 that will make the college football playoff? I don't think it's going to be Tulane because they're going to miss their coach. Maybe Boise? I'll go out on a limb and say Boise. I know Boise's supposed to be pretty good, but I'll say Boise makes it. Yeah. Give me Boise. Give me Boise. Shedeur, here's a comment by K-Ned. Shedeur is good and a brand name QB to mention preseason. I predict postseason there will be one name being mentioned, Avery Johnson. It's not going to be the only name that's going to be mentioned is Avery Johnson. Avery Johnson is going to have a good season at Kansas State. There's a lot of good quarterbacks in the Big 12 this year. There's a lot of good quarterbacks. Avery is definitely one of them, and he may be the best of them all. He might be the best of them all. So I don't think Tennessee is going to be a sneaky team in the college football this year. No. I think Tennessee had their chance. I don't think the program is going to go back to where it was. I just don't think they make it because you look at the teams, Alabama and Georgia, they're better than they are. I think Ole Miss is better than they are, and I think Texas is better than they are. Now, the question comes, is Tennessee better than Missouri? I think Missouri is going to be really, really good this year. I think Missouri is going to be better this year than they were last year. I know they got to replace some guys on defense. I just believe Missouri is going to be better. Kentucky's also going to be better. So, but we'll see. We'll see. I don't think Tennessee sneaks in, but they could. Wouldn't be mad at it. Wouldn't be mad at it. Would not at all. Could Kansas be a heavy sleeper to make a run for college? I don't think Kansas needs to be a sleeper at all. There are so many people that just look at Kansas's history in football over the last, I don't know, you call it 30 years, and they just say there's no way they can win the Big 12. You got to build your way up to winning. And I'm like, no, you don't. Since when in the transfer portal do you, or anytime, does it, well, because you haven't been good, you can't be really good this year? It doesn't mean that. That's not how football works. If you've got the players and you've got the coaching staff and you have the schedule and the luck of health, you can win right now. That can happen. And Kansas is going to be a better football team if their quarterback, Jaden Daniels, is healthy. If he is, then they're winning. I'm sorry. They're going to win a lot of football games. Will it be good enough to win the Big 12? I don't know. But it can be. Let's not kid ourselves. It absolutely can be. So that's the thing that we have to keep in mind. Kansas is going to be a good football team. People say that it's going to be a disadvantage to play their games away from campus. I'm like, really? So me, as a college student, a 21, 20-year-old, 21, 22-year-old, whatever, I get to play of my 7 home games, I get to play, I think, 5 of them at Arrowhead Stadium, where Patrick Mahomes plays, where the Kansas City Chiefs play. I get to play my home games there. That's a disadvantage to me? In what world? In what? I mean, seriously. How? And not to mention, it's not like Arrowhead Stadium is 2 hours away from Lawrence. It's 30 minutes. So you're telling me playing a home game 30 minutes away, where the 2-time defending world champions play their home games, that's where I get to play my home games? That's a disadvantage to me? People can be stupid sometimes. Come on, man. No. Absolutely not. My man Todd thinks that Liberty or Tulane is going to make the group of 5. Liberty might. I don't think it'll be Tulane. I think Tulane takes a step back just because of the coach. It's not that their new coach is bad, but Willie Fritz is really good. And I think they take a step back. Big B, do you think any NBA team would bring in John Wall? No. There's no reason. Nope. John Wall had his run. John Wall is never going to play in the NBA again. And I know that you might be saying that's harsh or that's bitter or you're jealous. I'm just giving you a reality. Why wasn't he on a team this year? I mean, he wasn't hurt. I mean, he wasn't on a team. Why? I don't even think John Wall doesn't have a bad attitude. I mean, not that we know of. You know, doesn't have a bad attitude. He was not hurt. He's not a bad human being. Just nobody needed his services for what he brings to the table. I'm not even saying he can't play anymore, because I think he can. But if he wasn't on the team this year, why would you want an older, and again, John Wall is a little older. Was he going to be 32 years old? That's not old in basketball terms, but it is older. Why would you want him a year removed from not being on a roster? That doesn't make sense. So I don't think so. I don't think he plays in the NBA anymore. Now, if you ask me, do you hope that he does? That's a different question, because I absolutely hope that he gets put on a roster. I just don't believe he will. I don't believe he will. So, all right, people. Thank you, guys. We're going to shut this one down for today, man. I appreciate everybody that came in. I love you guys for all the support. Thank you, guys, as always. We will be back tomorrow. Again, 10 a.m. Eastern, 9 a.m. Central. Big B Daily will be here. It's the dead period, people. We're trucking along. I appreciate you guys being here and showing up. Y'all have a good one. Aloha.